it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Tuesday, March 29th. So the moon was void for the majority of the day yesterday. Many of us had a very seesaw, very emotionally choppy, very hard on the head kind of day. Now, I regret to inform you that today might not be much better because we have some reflection to do. The moon just moved into Piscean energy in the wee hours, early morning. We have 7 different aspects taking place today. All of them involve the moon in Pisces. So the moon in Pisces, typically speaking, highly emotional, very sensitive. Yes, we're tapped into our intuition, to our creative self, to our soul self, but for many of us, that can be very overwhelming. Adding to this overwhelming review is the fact that we have to flash back. We are going to get a little bit of a reminder of the pain and struggles, of the emotions that we went through, of the ego death, the endings, the closures that many of us still haven't processed from Pisces season. Okay, we're only a week into this new calendar, into this new Aries energy. We haven't even really kicked it off yet because we have to wait for the new moon in Aries to actually get that party started. But this week, as we talked about in the ascension forecast, this week is about kind of refining, defining, realigning, recalibrating what it is that we need to have essentially energetically burned off of us. Old memories, old thoughts, old feelings, really seeing the transformation over the last couple of weeks in our circumstances, in our headspace, in our heart space, in our abilities, really kind of take form. And this is kind of like the last hurrah to kind of bring up the stuff that we went through in Pisces season in order to take a good look at it with a different set of eyes, to reprocess it from a higher perspective, a higher level of understanding, especially in the spiritual tough love life lessons that many of us had to go through. And overall, this is going to be a highly emotional day. Many of us are going to want to run from our current realities, from the mundane tasks and chores that make up our day-to-day life. Many of us are going to have a very hard time focusing in on the physical realm, the materialistic realm, the tasks, the chores that are required of us here in this earthly plane. And many of us are going to want to live in la la land. Now, if you can get yourself out of that cozy little ball in your bed and actually make your physical body move, you're already doing a great thing. You're already winning in this very heavy, very, very weighted type of day. But the goal here is to just get through it. Okay, so we're not going to be too hard on ourselves. We're not going to beat ourselves down. We're not going to, make anything harder or more complicated than it needs to be, because trust me, the energy for the day is enough. We are just going to want to get through it. We are going to constantly just be mindful, acting as the observer, that this is a reflection process. This review is necessary, that we are revisiting topics and themes over the past month and a half for good reason, and this too shall pass. So we do get a little bit of help throughout the day, which thank goodness, because again, the day is very kind of dreamy, kind of in la la land, very delusional, let's say. The moon does bump into Uranus, the great awakener. And Uranian energy, like I said, we just came from the moon in Aquarius. Uranus rules over the Aquarian energy. Uranian energy likes to shock us. It likes to provide us with a shift in perspective, with a download, a moment of genius where suddenly something snaps, something clicks in our brains and we see things. We see the connection. We see the reason why. We have a profound understanding. It changes the game in our psychological perception and in our heart space. And of course, you get those two in agreement and we have a full body healing in our physical avatars, in our physical meat suits. So the moon in Pisces, harmonizing, bumping into this Uranian energy that is in Taurus, which is showing us where the foundations of our physical realm have been shook. Okay. So the identity crisis that we've been going through, the relationships that have fallen apart, the people that we've lost in many different ways, the money matters shifting, the overall worth and value that we're seeing in ourself, our daily circumstances. This Uranian energy likes to shake us up in our physical realms to see what foundations are not strong enough to basically stand the test of time. And the moon in Pisces right now, very reflective, very connected to the higher self, to the higher realms, having this moment of genius come in, shifting our perspective. This will likely be pretty profound as far as a spiritual aha moment. This is like seeing the greater, grander plan of the cosmos come together, seeing past events click together, connect to one another in a way that makes it almost better. Right? Now, does that mean that the pain and the suffering from the experiences that we just had to go through, the loss that we just went through, does that mean that that makes it better? No, probably not. But the more embodiment, the more enlightenment, the more awareness that we have that there is a greater, grander plan taking place here does kind of give us that little bit of comfort, does shift our perception, does kind of shift the energy that we're holding in our heart space. The moon goes ahead and bumps into Mercury, who, as you know, is fresh into Aries. Is this going to be fun? No. How is this going to manifest? Likely one of two situations. First of all, you're going to pop off. You're just going to open your mouth and let that verbal diarrhea just spill out, projecting your confusion, your insecurities, your doubts, your hurt feelings onto other people. Now, do they deserve it? Well, that's debatable. We talked in the Ascension forecast about how it was very important this week to speak your truth, even if it hurt other people. But do we do that from ego? No. Do we do it on an impulse? No. If we're doing it from our heart and soul, if it is truly a truth that we need to express to another individual, then yes, we need to do that. The other way that it could manifest in our life is somebody else popping off on us. Mercury and Aries, very straight, very direct, very blunt, very insensitive to other people's feelings. We say things how we need to say them just to get them out. We tend to not use a filter. That can lead to a confrontation, to some miscommunications that can be very hurtful. This is a dynamic that essentially, depending on how if it was actual truth, then good. That truth needs to get out there. It needs to bounce around off of other people. If this is egoic projection and not truth, then we're going to have issues. And again, may I remind you, we have to be mindful that everybody is going through something. Everybody is being activated by this energy, and not everybody has the awareness that you may have about how these situations unfold. So we have to just recognize that, we have to be kind, we have to be open-hearted, we have to be open-minded to receive some blunt-ass information that we might not want to hear, just as we hope that the individuals hearing us pop off, speaking our truth, expressing ourselves to the fullest, will have the same love, empathy, compassion, and hold the same space that we are willing to hold for them. The moon bumps into the sun. And let me tell you, based off of the energy that we just kind of had, if you will, this is going to make for a very long day of being trapped in a negative narrative, in a frustrated body state. The moon and the sun, so the moon in Pisces, that is very intuitive, very connected, very overwhelmed, because we really don't know where our energy ends and other people begins. The sun in Aries, of course, is very focused on oneself. We tend to be a little bit more selfish under the sun in Aries energy because we are concentrated on rebuilding ourselves back up. Our ego has been broken. Our identity has shifted. We are very focused on putting the blinders on to make sure that we are getting ourselves back to a whole state before we're concerned about anyone else. Yes, there is a balance between the selfishness that you need to have so that you don't slip all the way into total narcissism. But at the same time, we really do need to kind of put the blinders on and recognize where we can't be pouring energy into other people until we are operating from a whole space ourselves. This particular energy is, like I said, kind of feeding off of the external realm. There are situations popping off. Again, maybe you were on the receiving end of some very blunt truth that you didn't want to hear. Maybe somebody popped off in an egoic projection that you're really trying to bite your tongue on and not feed into the drama of it. Either way, we are going to feel that frustration. We are going to feel that want, need, and desire to lash out You know, that warrior spirit comes alive in Aries season, and we're sick of taking people's shit. We're sick of feeling bad. And like I keep saying, the line between passion and anger is very thin. And so we are going to be challenged in multiple ways in order to strike the right balance. And balance is not an easy thing for any of us to obtain. We really do have to act as the observer. And this Aries energy is really putting a extra layer of challenge on us acting as that observer. The moon helps us out by bumping into the true node. Suddenly we get a vision. Suddenly we get a puzzle piece on what it is that we need to do, what it is that we want, what it is we need and desire. The true node is trying to show us the path that we need to walk in order to truly end up to the vision and the goal that we're now kind of being activated and inspired to pursue. The moon in Pisces, very dreamy. Again, we're living in la la land. We're very dreamy. We're very creative. We're listening to our higher self. We're seeing the divine signs and symbols, validations coming through in our physical realm. We are feeling inside of us, we are feeling like, you know what? Maybe I am on the right path. Maybe this indication is the right indication for me to follow. Maybe you're getting hints and clues coming in from your mental plane, in your heart space, in your physical realms that keep validating for you that you should be pushing yourself in a different direction than the direction that you've been currently walking. The moon is going to bump into Chiron though, and this again is likely coming from that outside situation that popped off earlier. Chiron is that wounded healer. He is in Aries, which means that we have been struggling for many years now, trying to dive into the shadow parts of our egoic makeup, of our identity, especially where our pain story is alive and well. And this particular situation that popped off earlier is really putting us in a tough place in our heart and in our head. Because again, we are trying to be the bigger person. We are trying to grow through what it is that we're going through. We are trying to find balance. We are trying to have love and compassion, not only for ourselves, but for the people coming at us. The moon bumping into Chiron in this way is likely going to expose what really hurt us, where it is that we're feeling very doubtful and insecure, and where we're feeling very alone and isolated and rejected and abandoned in the world. That's okay. Let yourself go there. Let yourself feel those feelings. Understand that they're going to get overwhelming. They're going to get super big because of the moon in Pisces, but that we need that exasperated energy of discomfort to show us where it is that those wounds need to be addressed, where it is that we need to make more time, energy, and attention in our lives to provide ourselves with the safety and the security that we're currently lacking in order for us to not feel that way. Again, may I drive this home? We have to feel before we can heal. Many of us go out of our ways time and time again to avoid our feelings and wonder why we are still triggered, activated, and stuck in the same situation. You cannot move forward. You cannot raise your vibration. You cannot raise your frequency. You cannot reach the next level of enlightenment and awareness if you're avoiding your feelings. So the moon bumps into Uranus in a very positive way. This is a sextile. This is like a trigger. This is an activation. What are we activating? We are activating a release of the emotion, the heavier emotions that we just would have experienced with this Chiron energy, with the earlier situations popping off in our mental narrative. We are recognizing where there is a shift in perspective, where there is a solution, where there is this perception that we have been stuck in. Again, negative narrative, negative Nancy likes to keep us trapped in a certain way of thinking, a certain way of seeing things. This Uranian energy comes in from the higher source intelligence out in the cosmos, talks to our higher self in the intellect. Uranian energy rules over the higher intellect, while Mercury rules over the lower intellect. And right now, we're getting a huge download where it is that we need to shift our perception, what it is that we need to do to build stronger foundations. Uranian energy and Taurus energy is earth. What do we have to build in our earthly realms in order to feel safe and supported, encouraged, to find that security, to find that connection that many of us, are lacking? So this is going to be pretty profound. It is going to change the game. It is going to lighten the mood from what has been a very tough, hard day. And then we have the moon wrapping up the day with a semi-square with Pluto. Now, Pluto is the great transformer. He likes to illuminate the darkness in order for us to see where it is we can turn it into light. He likes to remind us of the pain and the suffering and the discomfort that we've been in, the tough love life lessons we had to go through, and show us where it is that we've chosen to remain the victim. Poor me, whine, let's cry about it. I'm never going to have any different circumstances. Or where it is that we can be illuminated to all that pain and struggle and recognize that those were divinely scripted events in order for us to truly see how strong we were, to push us in our power, to show us that we are the master of our own domain and that we can essentially boss up, take control, take our power back, and use the negative experiences in our life as inspiration, as motivation, as the catalyst to make a dramatic shift, to make a dramatic change, to see that huge transformation. Where is that transformation taking place? In the heart space, first and foremost. Secondly, in our psyche and our mental plane. And third, we need to get those two in agreement before our body can engage in alignment, taking actions to support the inner healing that we've done in our inner realm.